know that ordinarily those exhibits ought to have been kept in Isipingo?
Yes. According to my knowledge, all the exhibits are kept in the police station of jurisdiction.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, the difficulty I have with your earlier statement, the one of 27 January 2022, is that you refer to Warrant Officer Perumal, the SAP 13 clerk, being called to the parking lot. And then you say you started counting all the way down to finalizing that process. And then, sort of randomly as it were, and with no explanation, you say, Lieutenant Colonel Jacob indicated that he has spoken to Brigadier Nyuswa about a safe place to keep the exhibits. Yeah. What I find difficult to follow is, why did you not include this important detail that you say you were aware of, which is that these exhibits ought to have been kept in Isipingo? When you jump in that statement to Lieutenant Colonel saying, these, according to Brigadier Nyuswa, these must be taken to some safe place, how do you not explain the prescript that you say you were aware of? Why do you not explain that in this statement and say they were not kept at Isipingo because the clerk, the SAP 13 clerk, did not have space? Evan, as an alternative, Brigadier Nyuswa then came up with some safe place elsewhere. It was so obvious for you to explain what ought to have been done in accordance with the prescripts. You don't say it. You only say it in a later statement, and which is prompted by whoever it is that required of you to give some quote-unquote clarification. Why would you not have stated something so obvious?
I think, Chair, it's an omission. That is why we tender oral evidence to clarify all other evidence or explain or elaborate more.
Who do you say, maybe you do explain, I didn't see just now, who do you say required you to give clarification?
Who required me to give
clarification?
It's kept...
Pursuant to which you then made your May 2022 statement. Am I correct?
It's the investigating officer, Captain Marshall.
Did he specifically tell you in what respects your statement did not state everything it ought to have stated?
He just told me I needed to clarify the issues. I remember it was the issue of the story.
I want a clear and direct answer. Did he specify the issues on which he required clarity?
Yes, he did.
Can you tell us what those were?
Those issues that I needed to clarify is paragraph.
No, issues, not paragraphs.
No,
issues.
I want to refer you to a statement now.
Okay.
To my further statement.
Okay.
Please give me the page number of the further statement. 645. He needed me to clarify, Chairperson, the issue, what happened on the day of the seizure when we went to Isipingo. He also needed me to clarify.
That's too broad and generalized. It doesn't really identify an issue. Did you hear me?
I'm trying to respond, Chairperson.
I'm saying what you've just read now, or what you've just said now, is too broad and generalized and does not identify an issue. And what I've asked for is for you to please specify the issues on which clarity was required.
He indicated to me that Warrant Officer Perumal is not agreeing with what we are saying, that there was no space at the police station. So we needed to clarify more.
And at that stage, the investigating officer is now Lieutenant Colonel Jacob. It's no longer.
No, it was Mashao by this time.
Okay. And what did he know about that? For him to have required clarity on that issue, what did he know about that? I assume that Lieutenant Colonel Jacob would not have told him anything about that, or not?
I never had a discussion with him.
So, okay. And you have not stated it in your earlier statement?
In my initial statement.
Yes. Now, what would have caused him to say, please give clarity around what Perumal said about the availability or non-availability of space at discipline? What would have prompted that? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. What would have prompted it?
I think, Chair, it was because maybe Perumal was denying the issue that the storage was requested. That is why he wanted me to clarify more.
Okay. All right.
But up to that point, Perumal, Jacobs, and yourselves were not disagreeing, because all your three statements up to that point were, we booked these things in, we took them out. So why would he say Perumal is disagreeing with you? Clarify, because there was no disagreement up to that point. The disagreement only comes in when you make the second statement. I've taken you to Jacobs' first statement. You saw that he says there was no discussion, there was no engagement. I've taken you to Perumal's statement. He says there was no engagement. You did not mention the engagement in your first statement that you are being asked to clarify. So why would the new investigating officer who's investigating the theft in Port Shepstone say to you, clarify a non-existent dispute?
I wouldn't know, but I'm stating it also on my third paragraph here. I'm stating it on my third paragraph here. On Friday, approximately 12:20, I was requested by Colonel Mojela and Captain Muchenchana, but I don't know why didn't I add Captain Mashao, because I was communicating with him on the phone to submit a further statement to the one I submitted before. I'm trying to explain now with what transpired on the day in issue.
That's not answering the question by Commissioner Khumalo.
Yes.
Commissioner Khumalo is saying the SAP 13 clerk, warrant officer Perumal, says he was never asked about this by Jacob. Oh, and then Jacob himself does not say that this was ever an issue between him and warrant officer Perumal. And then you too, in your earlier statement, do not say that this was ever an issue. There was counting. Warrant officer Perumal is there. Once the counting is done, Colonel Jacob says, Brigadier Nyuswa has said that there's a safe place where these exhibits are going to be stored. All of you, all three of you are consistent on this. So all of a sudden, there's inconsistency, and then now Warrant Officer Perumal is standing all by himself in saying this was never an issue. You and Colonel Jacob has suddenly flipped or changed.
Chair.
All of a sudden, when with the two of you as well, there was never an issue around this. And there is this strange statement that says you were required to clarify. What issue was there to clarify when everything was consistent amongst the three of you? That's the question. What was there to clarify?
If they did not need the statement, Chairperson, they were not going to take it. So it shows
No,
that
that's not, the question is not about what they required. The question is about why would it have been necessary at all? This has nothing to do with the people who asked you to clarify. Or rather, this has nothing to do with whether or not they would have accepted the statement, which is what you are addressing now. The question is, why would there have been a need to clarify something on which all the role players are agreed? Do you get that? You are one of the role players. Colonel Jacob is one of the role players. Warrant Officer Perumal is, although of course he appears to have been more an observer than anything else. All three role players are agreed on this issue. So why would there have been a need to clarify an issue on which there's no inconsistency, there's no disagreement? It doesn't make sense.
I understand, Chair, it doesn't make sense. But for the fact that I put it in my statement and I'm mentioning the people and the times, the investigation team also took the statement. They were not going to accept any statement that they did not request, which means the request was made.
Absent an explanation that makes sense, this later version by you and by Colonel Jacob appears to be concocted. The explanation you give doesn't make sense. And what Colonel Jacob says is, I was now reminded by my juniors that there was this interaction with Perumal. All of a sudden, he needs to be reminded on something so important. Surely he should know what the reason for going to Port Shepstone was. It could only be because Warrant Officer Perumal said to him there is no space. There's no way he could forget something that important. So it's on that basis that I suggest to you that, subject to an explanation that is more reasonable than what you have told us, what you are telling us appears to be concocted. What is your comment?
No comment, Chair.
Thank you.
Can I perhaps suggest a possible explanation for that paragraph? The possible explanation, and I think the most likely, probable, is you were asked the question to clarify why the exhibits were not kept at Isipingo. What was the reason? You were likely asked that question, and you had to give what you considered a credible explanation. You then say, I heard Perumal and Jacob talking, that there is no space. That's why. And the next thing, Jacob had called someone on the phone, and then he said, we have now to take them to Port Shepstone, because you were asked to explain. And I want to point out to you that, in fact, in that clarification, you say you overheard Jacob talking to Perumal about this, that they do not have space. It's different, even if slightly. It's different from what you've actually said now as you're sitting there. You ended up saying, when he came out and he saw the bags, he said, yo, I don't have space.
So much.
That's what you said. When you were being probed on, but there was no asking, there was no refusal. When that engagement was happening with the commissioners, you said, yeah, he came out. When they called him, he came out and he said, yo, I don't have space, which is different from saying he was asked for space. And he said, I don't have it. Chair, you remember Chair said, yo, it sounds like he's Zulu. It was more shock at seeing these, which is completely different from what you say in this clarification statement, which is you overheard them talking to each other, that he doesn't have space. So I want to suggest to you that you made up, in this clarification statement, you made up a reason why these exhibits end up not being left at Port Shepstone. And what you make up is to say they had a conversation, Jacob and Perumal said, I don't have space. That's what I want to suggest to you.
I hear you, Chairperson, but I don't recall exactly what was the reason for clarification. The bottom line, Chairperson, I was not in position to make a decision as to where the exhibit must be kept.
My colleague, Commissioner Baloyi, is being benevolent. The benevolence still doesn't answer the question why there would have been consistency among all of you and then suddenly two of you changed tack. So that answer to which in the end you said you had, or rather that issue to which in the end you said you had no answer remains. Thank you.
And the last point on this, I find it strange that Jacob, who was a party to the conversation, does not remember the conversation, and it is somebody who happened to overhear the conversation who must now remind him of a conversation to which he was a party. I just find that very strange.
Thank you, Chair.
Do you agree that it is strange? That he wouldn't remember and he would need you to remind him?
You find it strange?
Yes. Because he's the one having the conversation with Perumal. You are assisting with and you are removing the bags from the vehicle so that they can be counted. You happen to overhear his conversation with Perumal. But neither of them remember the conversation. And it is you who must remind them that the conversation took place. I mean, that is strange. Right?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
It's not just strange it's not just strange. It is problematic, given what we have referred you to. Your later statement about yes, there was a conversation is difficult to accept as true, in fact, because of everything that we have put to you. Right? As the chairperson says, there are three statements which don't speak to this conversation about storage. In fact, there's a statement where Jacob, that you say, had a conversation with Perumal, says, I never engaged him about this. Mpangase says nothing about it. He signs out, Mpangase signs out for analysis. So all of those things, they indicate that your account about this issue, it cannot be correct. It just can't be correct, your account, given everything else. That's the problem that there is.
I hear you, Chairperson.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Could you then on the same file go to, just to round up the issue, at page 591? Yeah.